This video is sponsored by my OnlyFans, where I do my meaningful sex educational content, fitness, health, nutrition, relationship advice, and more. And hi guys, and welcome to this live topic discussion of what do people think about the Emperor of Mankind. And I, of course, am the Empress, basically crowned by you guys, the 40k fans. I'm going to discuss my favorite character of all 40k, the Emperor of Mankind. And this, by the way, if you haven't seen it before, is my own art of the Emperor. It's not the best, it's just something that I had as an inspiration to draw him in this style. So there's that. And nobody really knows how the Emperor looks like anyways. So hi to everybody in the chat. So we are going to discuss and take a look at some comments from fans, basically from you guys, and we are going to discuss in general what people think, what I've noticed that people think about the Emperor, how I agree or disagree about these opinions, and why I do agree. And why I do agree or disagree with these opinions. So, and wow, ultimately he is a poor cursed creature, and yes, I too. Okay, so as you know, guys, if you tune into any of my streams, I am taking a look at the comments as soon as I can. But first, because this has to be in video format, I'm going to continue presenting my points. And after that, we're going to, take a look at your comments. And of course, we're going to get into a live discussion as well. So, before we continue, Dark, you managed to slip in one comment here. The Emperor is different to everyone that meets him. Yes, that's one of the facts about the Emperor. But let us see the first thing, which is that the Emperor is a god, and I did a special stream video about this. I'm not going to go into all of the details about the topic, but what I didn't mention there, directly, is, what is the definition of a god? And by definition of a god, the Emperor is not a god, not even a little bit. So the definition of a god is basically a superhuman being or a spirit worshipped as having power over nature or human fortunes, a deity. The creator and ruler of the universe and source of all moral authority, the supreme being. And also the supreme or almighty reality, especially the being perfect in power, wisdom, and godness, whom people worship as creator and ruler of the universe. Being believed to have more than human powers, ancient people worship many gods. Yes. So basically, some of the things that I did, point out in that detailed video, whether or not the Emperor is a god, I did say that, well, he never actually created anything out of himself. He does not have a power to just will something into existence and just pop out of anywhere, like a tree or a planet or a human. He still needs the resources of other people or other beings to do things, to create things, to make things happen. So he can't just be like, snap his fingers or just think of it and here comes a horse, for instance, or whatever it is. I mean, this is just like a, metaphorical example. And of course, he is a very powerful being, but that is just it. I mean, he's a very powerful being that, most humans cannot even imagine of the things that he can actually do. But as we also discussed in that video of the Emperor of Mankind against Doctor Doom, the god Doctor Doom, from the Marvel Universe, he just comes short in terms of, some of the powers and abilities, and even God's Doom can beat him based on all of the powers that we listed there of both beings. So he is amazing, but he is really amazing in the world of Warhammer. He looks like he could be a god, but in reality, what a god is, he just doesn't meet all the requirements. He's not the creator of the world. He's not the creator at all, basically, and he can't create anything out of himself just like that. So yeah, he's still a human. He still has to use his hands and all of his other powers, and to manipulate people, all those things that he does. So yeah, he has human ways to deal with everything, basically. And then the chaos gods themselves. That's the other thing that people think, but that's not the topic, kind of. But yes, they also don't fit any definition of a god. And even one of the Warhammer writers, Dan Abend, was it? He said in an interview that they're not gods. So there's that. I mean, they're basically very high level demons, but the way that they're written, which I've spoken about many other times. Very, very high level demons, but still not real gods. They're just force of destruction, and whenever they have positive qualities, they use those positive qualities still to an evil ends. And yeah, that's just about sums it up. So other things that people believe about the Emperor and think about the Emperor, there are a lot of things, actually. They believe that he is a good guy, which also we discussed many times how he, through his manipulative ways, he just cannot qualify as a good guy. He may be looking a lot better when compared to Chaos, but certainly he's just another force very similar to Chaos that acts in very similar ways to Chaos, once again, and the ends justifies the means. That is his principle of what he's doing. I don't know how some people still believe that he loves his sons, like their sons, when there's a lot of examples in the 40k lore where it's absolutely clear, and it's not like a subtext or anything else, but it's absolutely clear that the Emperor thinks of his sons as tools to once again achieve whatever means, well, he wants to achieve, which is of course to rule as much as the galaxy and humanity is possible. And if he can rule everything, that's just gonna be the best thing ever. And basically, when you think about the Emperor going back to the Thunder Warrior period, there were once again means to do something, and when he was done with them, yes, they were very unreliable and flawed by their nature. They were unstable, psychically even. Still, they were, loyal to him, but he decided to just wipe them out because they outlived their usefulness. Some of them managed to escape and live. That's another topic, but yeah. And after that, who knows what was his plan for the Astartes themselves. Now, Loof, sorry, Loof, yes, Wolf Lord. He made a video about 55 reasons that the Emperor of Mankind is awesome. A lot of those reasons, actually, I don't think they're even reasons that he's awesome. A lot of those could be argued that they're reasons that he is not awesome, not even a little bit. But people then commented here, and that is what is interesting. I'm often really, puzzled of how people think about the lore, because to me a lot of things are very, very clear, especially from a writer prospect. If you know how things are usually written, if you actually listen to what the writers have to say, how they what is their thought processes when they Think about anything really. I mean, when they're creating a character, a universe, how everything relates to each other, and what's kind of like the overall themes, the point of everything existing in the first place, and absolutely everything points out that the Emperor is a power-hungry being, and whatever he does that seems good for humanity is actually to feed his own agenda of ruling and being the supreme leader above all else and above all else. So that is just how chaos does it. I mean, chaos has his means, I mean, their means, to an end, and whatever good qualities, like I said, they choose to nurture is just so they can use them for manipulation and push people to give them something to feel like they're doing the right thing when they actually are not. So it is very classical ways of writing evil and how evil works in general. It does not work for anyone else's benefit but its own, but it wants you to think that it works for your benefit. Just classic. So I'm not sure how this is not more transparent to some people, but apparently it is not. So that's why we're discussing what the heck people are thinking about the Emperor. So let me just check with your comments real quick, and we're going to get to some of the comments of this particular video, which I found interesting. Hi to Ferris, thank you for the feedback, dear Clyton. That's great. In the 30k time, he was more like demigod. Chaos gods are evil and good as well if you look at what they represent. Dark, I just explained everything. I mean, I just basically decrypted what you just said, so not gonna repeat that. In the 30k, he was depicted as demigod. Not really, because the definition of a god in the Warhammer universe is flawed by its design in the first place. So we cannot even like objectively say that they are gods or demigods. They're just beings that have power. I mean, the Emperor, the Primarchs, the Astartes, they're above human. That does not make them demigods by definition at all. It makes them just beings from flesh and blood with particular set of skills and powers, which compared to humans are above and beyond what a human being can do physically, psychically, but that just does not make them gods. That's an issue not only with 40k, that's an issue with many other fantasy creations, sci-fi, whatever. Gods are always depicted in the weakest way possible, and they're further nerfed, if I can use this gaming term, even more. They're easily killed, easily manipulated. They themselves have pathetic human traits that are not refined at all. They're just pathetic, as any humans have them. And it's ridiculous for anyone to really call them gods. They're just called gods compared to humans. That's how human beings are presented, to see certain other beings that have higher abilities than themselves. But in reality, none of these gods, so-called gods, actually fit the definition of a god in general in the world. A god is much more than a being with powers. It just is. Those are the facts. And if any writer decides to write and portray a being that's supposed to be a god in his mind, but they're actually not in objectivity, then we can just see things the way that they really are. I mean, in objectivity, those or that being is not a god. In their world, like in 40k, you can say they seem godly because we are comparing them to the humans. But in reality, they're just as low level in many other ways as humans. So the common thing to do is to write such powerful beings as flawed as humans, which once again is the total opposite, absolutely the total opposite of what a god is supposed to be. So yeah, and even if one of the writers says it, and I'm really happy that he did, because before I watched this interview, I made a video, or at least two maybe, that I mentioned that, you know, they're not gods actually. They don't create anything, they just destroy, they just manipulate, exactly what the demons do. They have their own demons, but what the actual chaos gods do is exactly what demons do. It is the same thing. So when you try to create a work of fiction, you do have to rely on already established principles and knowledge from whatever understanding that humans have about these things. And when you mislabel, you know, certain creatures, when this is their then your own way to portray these creatures, but that doesn't make it correct, you know. So I can say that the unicorn is a freaking demon. That does not make it a freaking demon in the common knowledge that we have about what a unicorn is supposed to be, you know. You know what I'm talking about, I hope. So, once again, let us tune in to these comments, see what is interesting about them. Okay. That's interesting. Okay, guys, hold on. Oh, yeah, so another thing. I mean, one of the comments says another thing, but that reminded me of one of the most common things that people think once again about the emperor, and that is that his mind is shattered into pieces, or he himself is shattered into pieces. That's what people think, and basically that he is not in his right mind, and he is not, well, he's basically like crazy, you know, because he is in the golden throne, and he's supposed to protect humanity from, well, you know, the warp, and being for 10,000 years stuck in there, he lost his consciousness, or he lost his sanity. Well, that is not what actually the lore says. We can judge by the events that the recent lore presented, like in Goldlight, like in all of that Dark Imperium, the 3 novels, and in other things. That after he was one with the Golden Throne for 10,000 years plus now, whatever he did, it seems like he has a consistent plan going into motion, and he consciously directs some events, and he consciously, for example, in our very last and latest example, he returned Gilliman to life, and that was very precise action. He knew what he was doing. He totally restored Gilliman after he was infected by the god blight. He gave him visions, and not only visions, but that was a whole actual experience that Gilliman went through when he was communicating with the Emperor. And the Emperor consciously also helped Gilliman defeat, his brother Mortarion. And all of the things that the Emperor did with that fight, Gilliman against Mortarion, that was very, very directed. It was not a random action. There was a lot of actions there, but none of them were unconsciously. They are not speaking of someone that has no idea what they're doing, and they're not adequate or whatever. It is the exact opposite. Also, his devoted, the people that really are devoted to him, like that Astardi monk. Totally forgot his name right now. But yeah, he had like a inner feeling, not only feeling, but the Emperor did communicate with him to a certain point, and he was trying to convince Gilliman that the Emperor is something, that he's more, that he is there, that he knows what's going on, he can actively get into things if he needs to, and he does. And so there's just no way that someone that is split into I don't know how many pieces and doesn't know where he is and what the heck is going on will perform actions that are very direct and precise, basically, with a certain purpose in mind. And Gilliman knows that he is following the Emperor's plan to somehow return him to physical existence once more. And he just does it, whatever he needs to do, although he's not sure, but he still does it. So yeah, those are one of the things that I was really like, okay, but we have so many we have so much proof that the Emperor is conscious of what the heck he's doing and totally not split into so many pieces. So let's tune into the chat once again, see what you guys are thinking so far. Guess whose B-Day is tomorrow? It's me, Rocky. Well, thank you for joining the stream, and happy birthday in advance, although we really don't say this things here in Bulgaria. We don't, congratulate, but if I don't appear tomorrow and you're not here, happy birthday, and I wish you all the best in the coming year as well. Matti, this is absolutely so amazing. Thank you. I love my Emperor. Yes, I actually really love the Emperor myself. Like I said, as a character, don't get me wrong. The fact that I'm trying to, objectively, as much as possible, dissect his character doesn't mean that I don't love him, because he's one of the most interesting fictional characters that I have ever seen, and one of the most fascinating to think about, to discuss. It's very interesting, and it's, purposely done that he is written differently, and well, there are some inconsistencies that are maybe due to the years, the many writers that participated in the Warhammer lore books. Sometimes he is presented that he has some kind of a compassion towards his sons. Sometimes he's not, and it's just very confusing, because it does seem like there's a character inconsistency at times, and then we see those books like with Malkador, those novels, that he straight up just he's like, well, the Emperor had a plan, and the sons are just tools, a means to an end. And there's some other more proof towards that. So when you measure really the proofs of whether or not the Emperor is split into pieces and he's not adequate or whatever in his action, and when you measure about that topic, the proof, it turns out that no, he's actually very conscious, and he's acting whenever he can manifest his power. He is acting to help the Imperium and Gilliman and whoever he can, and also there's the saints that are acting through the Emperor's will. It seems, they do actively help, and they do appear in the most critical moments. Those are not just coincidences. There is the Legion of the Damned that also appears, helps people. Like, who powers those guys? I mean, are they just like on their own, somehow able to exist in between the two worlds and just appear when they're needed? It really has to be the Emperor who orchestrates all of those events. I mean, he makes these events possible. That's what I mean. So for that, he is totally aware of himself and what he's supposed to do. But the thing that, because this takes a lot of time for him to be able to be back, a lot of things have to happen, and a lot of stars has to align for him to actually be here once again. Now, going back to your comments, guys. Dark says, if you look at the gods and goddesses of Greek, Norse, and many only gods of the ancient times, can you really call them gods? Well, Actually, Dark, the Greek gods, the Norse gods, all of those gods, yeah, they do have more power though. Uh, in general, I mean, it is complicated about these gods in particular. They are also presented very weak in all movies. When you actually read, though, the myths and legends, you do see that those gods do create. Zeus created whatever he created, us humans. Before that, his father Kronos, they created other things in the universe or the universe. I don't remember all the details about that now, but point is that they do create. They do actually act as gods. They do have some lustful and very low level desires. That is not good, obviously, in the myths and legends, but at least they meet most of the other requirements, and most importantly, the creative aspects of, of gods. And, for instance, the existence of Aphrodite alone means that there's love in the world. There was not simple, there was an episode, actually, of Xena Warrior Princess, because, in Xena Warrior Princess, we have the Greek pantheon, and also we have the Norse pantheon. And we can see there that it's a similar thing. If the god of war disappears, there will be no wars, but then other cataclysms are going to be present because there's no balance. When Aphrodite is gone, there were no love in the world, and all people just became cynical. So yeah, that is totally different than how the emperor is. If the emperor disappears, well, the warp is going to warp us, basically, and it's not gonna be good at all. But before him, the world existed, and after he was embedded in the golden throne, the world still exists. And even if chaos invades everything and takes everything, the world probably still gonna exist. It's just gonna be a lot of chaos, destruction, because chaos are gonna be present in the material realm. But if the gods from the Greek pantheon just all of a sudden disappear in that period when they were ruling, so to speak, then the world will fall apart at this period. It's totally different. Materian, Matti, says demon primarchs are way stronger than any normal primarch. Matti, have you read the last book that I reviewed? The imp is going to have to be a lot more present and active, if not whole again, in order to save mankind. That's another topic, yes. But, well, okay, this is the topic is what people think about the Emperor of Mankind. So yeah, you are telling me what do you think about the Emperor of Mankind. So I'm going to reply to that. Yeah, I agree. I love to break down characters too, especially the Emperor. Especially the Emperor, yes. I still have those two shirts, by the way. You have to find a way to do your art and t-shirts. Yeah, I know. I have looked into some options, but have to keep looking, because that domain and site in general that I'm using now is just no good. Just no good. I have to label something else, like this is not 40k, it's not the Emperor, it's some Emperor. But guys, it's the Emperor, because basically they're taking down stuff left and right. Okay. So, Demon Primarch, way stronger. Well, no, they're not always. I mean, in that Sanguinius book, Sanguinius defeated Angron with his own 2 hands. It was very difficult, but he did. He was not powered by anyone. He was not powered by the Emperor. He was just Sanguinius fighting his brother Angron, and he defeated him. He also defeated the full-on demon, which I totally forgot his name every time. But yes, he did that. He did this, and then he had to fight Horus. And if he wasn't so weakened by this point, because he also, held the Eternity Gate as well, he would have actual chance against Horus. So there's that. I mean, There's even the freaking Grey Knights, that at least one of them or a few of them, not sure, but they do have. I'm thinking about totally different person right now, about Nathaniel Gara. I wanted to do a video about him, but never mind. So yeah, that famous Grey Knight that I always forget his name. And one or two, they defeated like a full-on demon princess. Um, Maybe one demon Primarch. So if a Grey Knight can do it, you know, they do have psychic powers that far exceed a lot of other psychers, because they are all psychers. But yeah, point being, it's not always the case. I mean, obviously they have a lot of upgrades, the demon Primarchs, but really not always the case. And well, Gilliman had a lot of tough time defeating, Mortarion, but that could have been possible if Mortarion didn't have the Godblight, which is something that he pulled out of his butt, so to speak. I mean, it's not trait, character, power trait, or power, or whatever you want to call it, of him. It was created for this particular purpose, to kill a Primarch. So we can't say that this was a fair fight. You know, Gilliman still had the sword of the Emperor, and he gave his all. So if you strip the Godblight, if he was not injected with that, maybe, just maybe, he would have defeated Mortarion just by himself. Really. You just educated me. I didn't know Diva Boy beat Angry Boy. You didn't? But I thought you watched my review at least of the books. And by the way, we do have to watch out for that a book that's coming out about the Emperor and all of that. It's important. So, continuing now with a bit more. Obviously, we cannot go through everything that people think about the Emperor, but at least a few more things. Okay. So, hold on. Okay. Hold on. There's really a lot. And remember, because some people bring up the lore possibility that he, I mean, the Emperor himself is a combination of a lot of souls of old shamans. That's still not canon. Technically, it's just up in the air of how he was created. It's not sure. There's no like 100% this is how it's done. This is, not like a Superman origin story, when you know that he comes from Krypton, and you know that he was the last son of Krypton and he was sent to Earth by his parents. This is like a solid, rock solid lore that has never changed. But for the Emperor, we don't have such a thing. We don't have an equivalent of this. So yeah. Okay. I'm focusing on the most important thing, so hold on. That's an interesting thought. So some guy says, imagine the emperor rises from the throne, but not just him, the culmination of all those souls with him. And some guy says, actually, I think that's exactly what will happen. Another guy says, and then a warp rift consumes Terra. I don't think so. I mean, if he refers to all the souls that he is consuming every day to keep him there, functioning, all of those souls are consumed. That is what they are. So he consumed them. They're no longer souls. They're just means of energy that he uses. So I'm pretty sure that he transfers those souls into pure energy, and he powers himself with that. So they're not gonna rise. They do not exist anymore. They're just energy by this point when he consumes them. It would not really make any sense in general. like everybody are going to be focusing on the Emperor rising, not billions of souls that he already consumed since 10,000 years of being on the golden throne, rise with him. Like, what's the logic in that? Unless they make it somehow in a way that, I don't know, those souls are like his soul army, but still, how would that go? Okay. Mm. What does everyone think is worse, being eaten by the Emperor for a day or being eaten by demons in the warp after death? I'm pretty sure it's kind of the same thing. Yeah, that's one of the qualities of the Emperor, that he does a lot of things that Chaos does, but everybody are like, the Emperor! Yee! But he actually does the same things to a very big extent. Maybe just the Emperor is gonna consume them quicker and he's not gonna torture anyone. I mean, with this process, gonna be like, you know, painless. So maybe it's gonna be better to be consumed by the Emperor. It's gonna be a lot quicker than, demons having their time, which is probably gonna happen. So yeah, better to be consumed by the Emperor, I guess. Not gonna, it's not good, but still, at least it's quicker. I just look at the chat, guys. So let's go to another one at least. Mm. Okay, so wow. One guy said, I believe that dying as fuel for the Astronomicon is actually the best fate for a psyker because the way I see it, you're becoming one with the Emperor and being protected from the war by becoming a part of him. Like how all Aldari become a part of Slanesh, but in a good way. Once again, I do think that he just consumes them and they become energy. Just the only thing that makes sense. I don't think that they're conscious anymore. I don't think that they're them anymore. I just think that they're uh, literally assimilated by the Emperor, honestly. I'm not even sure if the Eldar are at all themselves and being consumed by Slanesh. I do think that they're just like, and that's it. I mean, they're just energy. Although with the Slanesh could be different, but who knows? I imagine that her, them, him, whatever, maybe will take some pleasure of using their energy, but still keeping their whatever makes them them. So he can enjoy their screams or something like that. Only the Dark Audari go to Slanesh automatically and not all of them even. Some have soulstones and other such tech that helps them avoid she who thirsts after that. It's just hard to come by. Craft Wooders have their stones. Exodites have world spirits that they merge with. Harleys and Yanari are protected by their respective deities. Sorry man, that all ideas have been proven to be more of a moderate fear or best for most Eldar. Yes, I read about this somewhere. Aha, some guy says, I just read Godblight, specifically the part where Rebute recalls meeting the Emperor and he and the Golden Throne are described as this ancient monstrous thing which has to be fed countless psychers to keep running. I also remember something from the 3rd edition rulebook lore where an average psyker in the chorus was said to have their life force drained in a matter of months, not just a single day. I mean, a day's probably better, to be fair. I can't think anything more horrible than to be placed into this thing screaming the worst pain in your entire life, and then realizing it would last weeks and on end before your body eventually expires. Really not sure about that. I mean, if that is true, then what I just said is not true. I mean, that you're going to just die very quickly, not gonna notice it. You know, always when I read about the Golden Throne, at least what I did read about the Golden Throne, it seems like he just, because he needs 1,000 a day, so that does have to mean that he consumes them right away, because he will need another 1,000 the next day. So why would he need 1,000 today and 1,000 tomorrow? Why he would need to be replenished, every single day if he's not using them every single day? If he just adds more and more and more to the drawing, like, I don't. How is this? How is this logical then? Where is the place? I mean, if you put 1,000 people like somewhere, let's say in the Golden Throne area, and then you put another 1,000, they're still there for months, and then you put another 1,000, and they're still there for months. Like, when is this place going to be filled to the brim? Also, that just seems a lot less logical than just for the emperor to straightly consume their souls right away and be done with it, and then bring the other 1,000 the next day. Um, there's so much stuff here. Oh, okay. So lastly, because we really went for a long time here, some guy says, I think the emperor was given a choice: either destroy humanity altogether in order to deprive the chaos gods of their sustenance, or allow humanity to continue to exist and condemn them to eternal war. This is the ultimatum that the Chaos Gods gave him before he began the Primarch project. I think the Emperor chose a third path where he sacrificed himself in order to become equal to the Chaos Gods and rally humanity to his service against them. And the nature of human belief sustains them. Then what better weapon than to turn that belief against them? Okay, so this has to be the breaking down. Shows different paths where he sacrificed himself in order to become equal to the gods. Well, the Chaos Gods, they do want to be in the Materium. They do want to be present and have this another way of existing in the Materium, but they can't. They can't enter the Materium because the Emperor is standing in their way. So how are they equal to the Emperor if he is in the Materium and in the warp at the same time? He has this advantage of being both places and being powerful in both places at the same time. I mean, he will be more powerful if he's not a corpse at the Golden Throne, and obviously he is trying to come back by the many proof that we already have from the novels. So if he wanted to be more powerful and equal to the gods, maybe if that was his plan altogether, to be in the Golden Throne, because we're not certain if that was his plan. It kind of seems like he felt his actual plan. But let's say that was really his plan, then a certain level of power has to be built up in that state of being when he is somewhat here in the Materium with his corpse body and in the warp at the same time. Maybe this is a way to build power. Maybe, when humanity believes him to be a god, that makes him more of a godly being. that is elevated to some kind of a level that he doesn't have, that the chaos gods do have. And imagine, the chaos gods couldn't just destroy the Primarchs and get the pods when they were scattered. They didn't have the power to do that. That was the exact line somewhere in some of the books. They didn't have the power to do that. So if they don't have the power to do that, what the heck? What? I mean, those are not gods, once again. They are just limited by their own resources of other creatures, their own manipulation tactics and ways of doing things, for them to achieve anything. And that's not really how, once again, God is usually working. They will be able, whatever real gods they are, to do and to just make stuff happen. And simple parts of some material things, that will not be a problem. They will know where they are, and they can destroy them just with a thought if they wished, but they can't. So, what the heck? So I'm not sure about this theory, because there has to be how to turn the belief of humanity against the gods. That will be a topic for another video, actually. Yeah, because we're going to be here for a long while. So finally, I'm going to check what your guys said, and we're going to finish this stream, of course. So eater of chickens, I do. Where is the heresy? Well, if you ask Gilliman, who actually is open to discussion about the Emperor and critical thinking, there is no heresy here. He is the only loyal son to the Emperor because he's the only one that's actually in the lore present, and active. So there's no heresy here. We're just discussing. And, I'm the Emperor, so I can talk whatever I want about the Emperor. The gods don't want to win, they want endless war. If the gods win, you meant? The Emperor is now on the table of the greater game. I think that he always was there, in any case. But, if the gods want to win, they're just winning at the time, it seems like, because they are being fed all the time. So until the Emperor returns to the fold and actually do something more active against them in whatever capacity that is, whether he's going to use the will of the power or the will of the people, that's gonna take years. If we go with this theory that if the Emperor returns, he can teach the people to somehow reject the chaos gods. That would mean that there will not be wars, there will not be like killings, to feed Kron. There will not be like mischief, and worshipping in general of the gods. There's not going to be anything to sustain them. But there are also theories that they can sustain themselves without humanity. If that is the case, then it has to be something else to be done for the chaos gods to be eradicated. And if humanity continues the wrong ways of existing, if they're not taught to be better, then other chaos gods could be created in the same manner. So if really the Emperor wants to do something, he has to think such a long run. He has to change his own ways to not feed the chaos gods. So it is complicated. It's not just like black and white. It's really complicated, and you have to be a very good writer in order to take everything into what's the word for that? Yeah, into consideration, and really write logically around all of these variables and options that could have come into fruition or could not, in order to make sense. So thank you guys for joining this stream. This is obviously a very long topic, and you can tell me, with continuing the topic, what do you think about the Emperor of Mankind yourself? Write it down below. I will enjoy reading your comments always. And guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like to support me and get help with any of my coaching, there is OnlyFans, of course, where I do all of my meaningful sex educational content, fitness, health, nutrition coaching, relationship advice, life coaching, my own physique updates and progress, and more. So that's that. And for any other casual support, Patreon, PayPal, you can become member of the channel, member of the Imperium for free at Golden Astartes, our Discord server. That being said, guys, love ya. And until a lot more, hopefully, Warhammer content.